have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
What a time to be in Nigeria, and I'm sure a lot of people will be saying at this very moment. But it's good to be a Nigerian. At least we are faced with all of the peculiar challenges we are being faced in the country today, and we are also making sure that we find ways around that. My name is Janice Cobham. Welcome to Rise and Shine Daily. Good morning.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. My name is Uyai Aneka, and it's a great day to rise and shine wherever you are, in spite of the things happening all around us. Of course, if you have life, there is hope. I'd like to remind you to be a part of the growing community and contribute your thoughts and to the conversations we'll be having on the floor this morning. So like, share, comment across all our social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. Of course, we have phone lines that will be displayed on your screen. Feel free to send us WhatsApp, text messages, and call us to make your contributions this morning. Good morning, and thanks for joining us once again. Okay. So great things are happening in the country. Like we said, yesterday was one business day that we had our fingers crossed to see if there was going to be any changes made with, with regards to the whole money scarcity and fuel scarcity and the likes. A lot of heated things happening in the country at this time as we, draw closer to the elections. We have, I think, 15 days left to the elections, and several things happening. It's like you're trying to hold Nigeria at this spot, she's escaping at this other hand. Literally, that's how the country feels at this particular time. But then Nigerians are keeping their fingers crossed. People are doing the best they can to push ahead. But then I believe we have some reviews that, although controversial, there are going to be some Nigerians who are breathing a heave of relief, while there are others that are fully protesting, the movements that we have on ground.
Yeah, definitely. But before we even go to our major stories of the day, let us take our minds back to yesterday, of course, where we had conversations, very heated conversations about, the fuel scarcity and money scarcity, heating up the polity and all of that. Text messages were sent to our phones, and we'll just share those messages with you this morning. Quite a little bit too far from
this
us.
is Michael from Pekadis, Benin Republic. He said, hi, Spectrum. Yeah, Benin Republic, yes. He said, hi, Spectrum TV. Why are these things happening now? Scarcity of fuel and Naira. Look, we don't, I don't know what he was trying to say about APC, but he said, look, we don't APC and its, okay, maybe that should be, look, we don't want APC and its cohorts. The fact that APC government, the fact that APC governors are crying can't be pretense. Okay, that's what Michael from Benin Republic is
More
saying.
like the fact that APC governors are crying can be pretense.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay,
Yeah.
so pretending that, you know, they are not part and parcel
Of what is
the
going
new
on.
Naira, you know, policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, but in all essence, they are part of it. Well, that's, is it Michael now?
Yeah, that's
Michael's
Michael.
opinion.
So this is Faith from Benin saying POS people is too much. Oh, please try and stop. Okay, money buying. They are killing us. The price is too much. Please talk about it and take it serious. Okay, this was of course in reaction to the things we talked about yesterday. That's Faith from Benin crying out to POS agents to try and calm down. That, you know, the things that they're doing is actually killing and biting Nigerians.
Yeah, I like the fact that you said they should try and calm down.
Yeah.
You know, this period they are cashing out. But I think we did a survey in Uyo, and there were you know, series of talks about how they even get the monies in the first place. So POS agents get monies from fuel stations, get monies from supermarkets, and they buy these monies. It's not as safe, you know, they just, you know, give them, you know, they buy it. So by the time they come now and sit down and calculate how much they're buying these monies, and then all the charges that they get to incur in terms of buying those monies, they have to make gain now. How about you're in business to make profit, you know? So that's why the charges will be much. But again, I know that there are other POS operators that don't even put these charges.
Okay.
Yes, I have one or two of these POS operators. They don't. The highest charge they give you is 200 naira. So I think that people just want to make money.
I think it's greed, because no matter how much you're buying, you know, the money you're coming to sell. Let's say a POS agent is looking for 20,000 naira and goes to a fueling station to get it. If at all it's being sold for you, it might be sold for you at 5,000 naira. If you divide 5,000 naira across how much you have to, you know, dispense to people, you shouldn't sell it as, you know, as expensive as 750 naira per 5,000 or 1,000 to 5,000. Sometimes we add our greed to the experiences that we
we want to build the houses and buy the cars just because we're in a very serious situation. You know, the country is facing some pretty difficult challenges and all of that. It's totally wrong. It's pure greed.
It's greed. It's most of these difficulties actually driven by greed. In spite of the fact that we know that this policy is tight for Nigerians, we now have Nigerians putting greed on top of the tight policy and just making the country almost unbearable for most people.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think another angle that I've been giving thought to in the past couple of days is comparatively, if we look at the hardship that we are going through as a country and the hardship that some other countries of the world are going through currently, you know, at this time, like you said when you were opening, it's a good day to be a Nigerian. We still have a lot to be grateful for. We're talking about economic crunch, we are talking about money scarcity and fuel scarcity. But you see that Nigerians are resilient people. We still find a way to bounce back. But we are looking at Russia, we're looking at Syria and Turkey, where an enormous earthquake wiped away. Wiped away, you know, numerous numbers of people. The death toll is still rising because rescue missions are still being done. But these are not like, you know, the experiences we have every now and then in Nigeria. So someone is looking at the fact that if we would tweak our policies right and have our democracy right in Nigeria, then a lot of things would be different in our own country. So we still have a lot as Nigerians to wake up every day and be thankful for. There's a lot of things to wake up in this country and say, God, thank you for Nigeria and this day. Because, you know, sometimes we Nigerians feel like, yes, we do not have things to be grateful for. There is nothing to be grateful about. But there are countries that have been war-torn for several years, you know, in fighting within their countries. Yes, I know sometimes we want to talk about, you know, banditry in the northeast and northwest, but it could have been worse. So we have, you know, really big reasons in our hands to be thankful. We know that in the next, you know, in the next couple of days, you know, if we have the next couple of days to retweak our policy, then, you know, some of the difficulties that we are facing will be light. We have even like celebrities being dug out of this rubble in Turkey, in Syria. There's a lot of situation. There was a picture of a child that was trending yesterday where he had his hand on his younger one's head, under the weight of the rubble, yes. And that child, was preserved. They were able to rescue both the children. And, these are situations that people just get the chance to look back and say, of a truth, there is a God who rules in the affairs of men. Because how is it that those children, as tender as they are, were preserved under the rubble? Whatever made the older sibling to put a hand over the head of the younger one, and we found those children, alive. So there's a lot to be grateful for.
There's
when
also the pregnant woman that even under the rubble
yeah,
was able
put
to
to
give
bed.
birth, and then they brought the baby out and all of that. It's just an emotional moment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's
May
just
God
a lot happening in the country, really. So it's just where we see Nigerians, in spite of what we are facing, like we said yesterday, let's not choose violence as a way to solve the problems we are facing. Because truth be told, people are facing it worse in other parts of the world.
I think in Nigeria, they will always tell you that Nigeria is a great country to think about, yes. Nigeria is a great country. But people will always say that the only problem and major challenge that we have is leadership. And that's just the fact about it.
Yes.
It is only leadership problems that we have. Because if we have our leadership right, I think it will just trickle down to every other part and we'll begin to have things go right in this country. Because if we have leaders that are people, have the the thoughts of people, the thoughts of Nigerians at heart. You want to do infrastructures, you want to do roads, you want to build schools, you want to make sure that there's no strike for 8 months, you want to make sure that the health sector is working, you want to make sure that the agricultural sector is you just want to make sure that everything is working. So even if you have a few people in your cabinet that are saboteurs, sabotaging your efforts, it won't be as visible as what we are seeing today. So leadership is just a major problem that we have in this country. We've never had experienced some very dire, serious natural disasters, except for flooding issues that we had in the course of last year. But again, even those flooding issues, if the government was proactive in terms of cushioning the effect of all of that, definitely will not have it again. Remember again, even the flooding issue, it was like 10 years after. So in between 10 years, what the government do? So all of those things are things that good leadership will put in place to make sure that the country is where we're supposed to be.
A people-conscious democracy will take us away from most of the things that we are suffering.
Anyways, big stories happening in the country, and let's look at some of the issues that have gotten people talking. Of course, we have not heard the last of the cash crunch that is affecting a lot of people, not just the common Nigerians now, but politicians, political parties are also groaning under the weight of the cash crunch in the country. And just yesterday, the Supreme Court of Nigeria restrained the federal government from implementing the February 10 deadline for the old 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes. Now remember also that 3 northern states, Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara, had an motion ex parte filed on February 3rd by their lawyer Abdul Hakim Mustafa, prayed the Apex Court to halt the Central Bank of Nigeria Naira redesign policy. A 7-man panel of the Supreme Court, led by Justice John Okoro, in a unanimous ruling granted an interim injunction restraining the federal government, Central Bank of Nigeria and commercial banks from implementing the February 10 deadline for the old 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes to stop being legal tenders. Of course, the court further held that the federal government, CBN and commercial banks must not continue with the deadline pending the determination of a notice in respect of the issue on February 15. I know that at this point, a lot of Nigerians will heave a sigh of relief, like, okay, so fine, we can begin to use the old Naira notes,
and concurrently.
Yes, with the new Naira notes and all of that. But I know that it's not the school of thought for everybody.
Definitely
There's
not.
some people that have a different school of thought, thinking that, okay, so at last, the likes of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his APC, party have won won the fight against the new Naira notes policy and Godwin Emefiele and all of that. Remember, there has been a lot of kickbacks when we talk about the new Naira notes policy. There has been a lot of kickbacks. Someone like Bola Asiwaju said it was just a ploy by the government of the day to scuttle his chances. And not just him, we also had the likes of El Rufai, governor of Kaduna State, also saying same. We also had a lot of people, talk about this redesign policy. But again, there's another school of thought that just think that, and I'm even going to mention name. Victor Anilaju has always been of the opinion that, the redesigning of the new Naira notes is going to put a stop to a lot of vote buying coming from the APC. And as it is right now, Nigerians are reacting in different capacities and perspectives.
Yeah. There's a lot of reactions back and forth. There are people that are for the fact that the Supreme Court has said the old and the new Naira note should run concurrently. Yeah. But we also have people that are against this move, because we actually did have Nigerians that appreciated the president and Godwin Emefiele for coming up with this policy, especially when you're looking at the fact that it's going to, allegedly so forestall vote buying. And a lot of people are of the opinion, let Nigerians be able to have their way with the elections. And if you think that the money that we had running was going to be a tool in the hands of politicians, then it was okay for the policy to bite. And I think we had even some governors of certain states that came out also to go against the federal government, asking them not to withdraw from the money policy. But as we can see, the Supreme Court has given a judgment asking that the Central Bank of Nigeria, leaves the February 10 date, and then just allows the money to flow along in the current, in the country. This will mean a lot of things for the CBN governor. It's going to mean a lot of things. How is he going to interpret this against the policy that he had on ground? Because I think one thing that has flown around as allegations is, why was the Naira redesigned at this time? What was the CBN governor and maybe the president hoping to achieve by redesigning the Naira at this time and putting a fixed date by which upon which the old Naira should stop circulating? I think that was one of the major problems with the new Naira, because people have continued to go back in history. This is not the first time we have redesigned the Naira. At other times, we did not have a fixed date to say, okay, come the 30 and 31st of January 2023, you're not going to be able to use the old Nairas anymore. We just used it until the old Naira, we found out it has naturally defaced. So whatever made the CBN governor and the Apex Bank decide that this particular redesign and phasing out of the old Naira should have a fixated time, now we would find out that that goal has been nipped in the bud by this new ruling by the Supreme Court. But several other questions are, does the Supreme Court have the right to have swung into action this way against the Central Bank of Nigeria, which seems to be a standalone institution at this time in the country? Because it looks like
the Supreme Court.
So
it's more like the Apex.
Yes, it's like the Apex Court. It feels like at this point
Not
the
even
hand,
like it's the Apex
it's
Court.
the Apex Bank, right? So it feels like the hand of the CBN has been
twisted.
Twisted, because this is coming from the Apex Bank.
That some people are also of the opinion that at this point that the President Muhammadu Buhari can actually give an executive order to overturn the judgment from the Supreme Court. But before we go further in this conversation, I think that we just have to put the phone lines on the screen so that people can call in and give their opinion about this particular judgment by the Supreme Court. But while we're doing that as well, we'll just take a video of what the Kaduna State Governor El Rufai and what he has to say about the new Naira policy and of course the old Naira notes running concurrently in the country. We'll be right back.
The 36 state governors are supposed to meet with the president to discuss this. And our request is simple, and we are unanimous. All the 36 governors agree to this. That like every country in the world that has changed currency, let the old notes and the new notes be used side by side until such a time when all the old notes have been systematically drawn out of circulation. Nigeria is not the first country to do this. Saudi Arabia has changed its currency. For 7 years now, they still accept old notes. The only thing is that you never see the old notes come out of a bank. Even a trader will not give you change in old notes because they have printed enough of the new notes. And they are carefully and systematically withdrawing the old notes from circulation. The United Kingdom just got themselves a new king, King Charles. And they are changing their entire currency. From the coins to the notes, will all now have the picture, not of Queen Elizabeth, that has been there for more than 70 years, but that of King Charles. But from now to the end of time, if you go to England with a pound note with Queen Elizabeth, it will be accepted as legal tender and replaced with the new note. That is what every civilized country has done. Why is Nigeria doing this differently if there is no hidden agenda? Why are we expected to change 3 trillion in a matter of weeks? And then you print only.
Obviously, El Rufai there, speaking about the fact that the old Naira and the new Naira note should continue to run concurrently. We know that he's been one person that has also said that whatever it is about the new Naira policy and even the cash crunch, fuel scarcity now is also a way, that some elements cabal in the presidency is using to try to scuttle the chances of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But very quickly, even with this particular order from the Supreme Court, we saw some youths yesterday in Abuja who decided to protest the ex parte order of the Supreme Court temporarily halting the move by the federal government to ban the use of the old Naira note. So we just take a clip of that protest now and we come back again. We are very serious issues here. We have some Nigerians saying that we are not okay with all the suffering and everything. And then just at the brink of the whole thing where the government says, or the Supreme Court is saying halt it, another group of people are rising up to say, no, we don't want it halted.
The policy is actually a two-sided coin.
It is.
Because however you look at it, there are people who are looking at the long-term benefits of the redesign of the Naira, and there are some other people who just want to handle stomach issues right now. So let's just take that video and then we'll get right back into it.
This is live in Abuja. You can see opposite CBN there is massive protest of men and women, Nigerian youth, boys and girls on the street holding Nigerian flag with various inscriptions, speaking towards the current hardship resulting from the currency change. We have few policemen and women here, but nothing is happening at the moment. They allow the people to protest very freely, but they've just taken over the road. We can see members of the DSS in their various black jeep just running all over the place. But at the moment, everything is okay, no crisis. But the protesters has taken part of the road, almost one side of the road will be shut down not too long from now. But everywhere just looks so calm at the moment. Everywhere looks so calm. But if you look at the face of the men and women that are here on the protest, they are not looking happy. They are looking very angry.
That's a lot of reaction coming from, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Staging it at the quarters of the CBN also is quite, is quite illustrative on its own. But I think you were raising a concern that matters very much in this conversation. The fact that let's not hurry into thinking that this is just Nigerians, trying to fight against the judgment of the Supreme Court. How sure are we that these number of persons that we saw outside were not instigated by a certain group in Nigeria? Now, it might not even be be political parties, it might not even be politicians, it could also be businessmen that have, you know, certain
interest.
Yes, certain interest in all of these money ventures in Nigeria. Because there's another tendency, John, is if you were to interview some of the people on ground for this protest, they do not know jack about why they are outside.
Exactly.
So these are issues that we have on hand. So it's easier to jump in and say, okay, Nigerians might be divided along the policy lines, but there are also undertones and underdogs which might be releasing these people to just try and, you know, scuttle the whole process of what Nigeria is trying to achieve right now.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the redesign policy, it has its advantage, it has its disadvantages, but again, what outweighs the other? Is it the advantage that is outweighing the disadvantage, or the disadvantage is outweighing the advantage? But as we go on this conversation, we'll take reactions of Nigerians, we'll take tweets of Nigerians as to this particular order by the Supreme Court. Let's take some Twitter reactions. Obviously, Twitter is one app that, you know,
that's where the street of Nigeria is.
It happens.
Okay, so this is Engineer Kingsley. He's saying the Supreme Court ruling by Justice John Okoro on the CBN Naira redesign policy should not surprise you. The federal government promising to hinder politicians from vote buying, rigging election is a mirage because they haven't delivered on their campaign promises since 2015. Okay, that's it by Engineer Kingsley. Okay.
And then Nkame Peter Obi 2023 says the Supreme Court judgment is of no use to the masses. CBN has already taken over 1 trillion naira worth of old naira notes out of circulation. This decision won't bring back the old notes into circulation or make the new notes available. Okay, so let's take another tweet.
Okay, Femi Fani Kayode, the speaking son, said the Supreme Court has restrained the federal government and CBN and suspended the deadline of 10th February for the use of old naira notes. Nigerians can now continue to use the old naira notes together with the new until the legality of the policy is finally determined by the Supreme Court. That is a very, you know, serious, you know, mention, calling our attention there until the legality of that policy. So it feels like right now we are questioning how legal this whole process has been so far.
Yeah, definitely. This is from Ogbuago. Okay, it says the Supreme Court of Nigeria, led by Justice Olukayode Ariwola, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, has compromised, and they are heading towards compromising our democracy to serve the Emilokon ambition of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If not checked, Nigerians know your enemies. These are very serious allegations there, definitely.
Very serious responses.
Very serious allegations there, by this particular Nigerian. And the whole, anyways, I know that he's not the only person that shares the same sentiment. Other Nigerians are also thinking along the same lines, because when you even look at it, the whole, you know, brouhaha around the new Naira note policy and the APC presidential campaign council shouting at the top of their voice, no, this policy shouldn't be at this point in time, you know, there are some elements trying to scuttle my chances and all of that. So it gives room to a lot of Nigerians to begin to feel that there's something fishy somewhere. But let's not also forget that there are also Nigerians that are of the opinion that the new redesigned policy, or the new money policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria, is quite a good idea. But the timing is what Nigerians are saying that it is totally wrong, actually.
Yeah, the timing is one thing that Nigerians have argued about. Even some of the leaders in the country, even when you look at the Senate and the, you know, House of Reps, it's been one of the arguments that the timing was not correct. Even if we look at the long-term benefits of having this policy on ground, the timing didn't just fit. It was too close to the elections, and it was Anilaju who said it would have been better for the next administration to be the people to take on this particular stride. Governor Emefiele is going to be done as governor of CBN the next couple of months, just as the president Muhammadu Buhari. So it would have been something left for the next administration to decide to take on. But whatever motivated the hastiness to making this policy and redesigning the naira, I think part of the conversations we've now had of recent is the fact that let Nigerians not even forget that it was a lot of billions of naira that was sunk into the redesign of the naira. So there's a lot of back and forth. I remember asking Nteni Ekpang yesterday, is this at this point, is this an initiative that can be recalled by the federal government? But when you look at how much has been spent to even redesign the naira, it's a no-go area at this point. We just have to look for a way to work with it concurrently, as the Supreme Court has said, and find a way for the old notes to fizzle away. But that's what we have as a country right now.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just put a pause on that particular conversation. Of course, you can be a part of it. Let's know your thoughts about the Supreme Court's judgment yesterday given on the new Naira policy by Godwin Emefiele and the Central Bank as well. The numbers are on your TV screen. You can do well to call us or even send us text messages. But yeah, let's go over to our very next story. Yesterday, Twitter was buzzing because of INEC, and of course, they received a lot of knocks from netizens on the app, and it was said that the Independent National Electoral Commission was dragged for identifying with a post that criticized the candidacy of the Labour Party presidential flag bearer Peter Obi on Twitter. Now, it was also said that the official verified INEC Twitter handle on Tuesday liked a post against Peter Obi on the microblogging site. The post was coming days to Nigeria's presidential elections. Of course, we know that Peter Obi is one of the presidential candidates vying for the position of the presidency in Nigeria out of the 18 political parties in the country. And so there were just a lot of knocks on, INEC for liking that particular post. And of course, if you look at INEC, INEC is the umpire for the electoral processes in the country. And INEC shouldn't be biased in any way. INEC shouldn't be partisan in any way. So it was just Nigerians reacting to the involvement of INEC in terms of why would you like a tweet that is criticizing political candidates at this point in time. But again, I know that INEC has actually reacted to this particular comments and all of the dragons on Twitter and even on other social media handles. So we'll just take reactions, from the Independent National Electoral Commission body.
Okay, so INEC Nigeria says the attention of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been drawn to a post on its Twitter handle, liking a post relating to one of the 18 presidential candidates. The Commission is an independent electoral body and does not have preference for any candidate. Okay, this is the response of, INEC Nigeria. We've seen also that as a result of that, INEC had unliked the post criticizing the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Okay, now the tweet continues, says, of course, they do not have any preference to any candidate or political party. The Commission assures all Nigerians of its neutrality and will conduct a general election that is free and fair to all. The allegiance of the Commission is to the people of Nigeria. Of course, we see there.
Of course, they continue. It says, in the meantime, the Commission is also investigating the circumstances that led to the liking of the said post and will take appropriate disciplinary action if an infraction is established. Let's even get into the crux of the matter. Of course, this post was made by, what's his name now? Seun Kuti, of course, son of the legendary Nigerian music icon Fela Anikulapo Kuti, where he said the Labour presidential candidate was an opportunist and cannot deliver Nigeria.
Yes, of course, that particular post itself has seen a lot of reactions, even with fellow musicians and, entertainers in the industry. He's been, trending since yesterday.
Of course, yes.
A lot of people did not take it lightly with him. And at this point, when you find out there's a lot of varying opinions about that post, and then you see allegedly so INEC Nigeria liking the post. What exactly is Shehu Kuti some kind of voice to INEC Nigeria? Is he expressing the things that INEC Nigeria believes in when
identifies with?
Yes, when we expect that INEC should be absolutely unbiased. It doesn't matter what Nigerians believe in. It doesn't matter who they believe in. All you have to do as INEC is stand behind Nigerians, count their votes, and deliver the count. But it's very, very surprising, because this was a lot of, it was too much to gamble with.
Yeah.
And sometimes, that behind social media handles are human beings that have different thoughts and different inferences. They have different leanings, so it's possible that it was a mistake, so to speak, because really, let's analyze it from different angles. The person who might have forgotten that he's at work and currently working on the INEC official handle and went to like it, might have been reading it and being like, oh, Shehu has made a whole lot of sense, I agree with this, and you forget that you are at work. You are currently working on the INEC portal, because it might be a personal opinion that got expressed through the INEC handle. That's something else we shouldn't forget. It might have been an individual who has
a preference for any other political candidate,
yes,
aside from the Labour Party.
Exactly.
But that shouldn't interfere with your work. You should also be conscious of the fact that Nigerians are looking for the littlest thing, to use in holding INEC responsible for the failure or the success of the general election. So,
but that adrenaline rush that comes with when you read something that feels like, this person gets me. The person doesn't get it with INEC official handle. They don't get you. When you want to put your shenanigans in, don't bring it to issues because these are issues that if they are not properly handled, it will brew more tension in the country,
because it's very sensitive.
Yes, it's very sensitive. It will brew more contention in this country at this time. Because next thing now, people are, that INEC has gone to unlike the post, but there are people who have screen grab of that particular activity, waiting for when INEC will come out with, their hand in their nose saying something after the February 25th election. So this is very risky. Whether it was an individual who mistakenly did it, or it was someone who, actually, did it willfully, that is a lot of trouble, sitting in a cooler and waiting for INEC after the elections, actually.
Okay, let's take our news brief. Of course, we have Mary Joseph standing by for the news brief. And when we come back, of course, we have Spotlight Dailies, where we get to share some of the headlines making it on our national dailies. And of course, we'll also be talking about something very serious. All of the killings in Katsina State, the death toll rising at every point in time. These are some of the conversations we'll be having after this time out. Just stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
As of government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the lives in County.
As of government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the lives in County.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum, live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin the news brief with the federal government as it has asked the Supreme Court to dismiss a suit challenging the February 10 deadline for the circulation of old Naira notes. In a preliminary objection filed through his Attorney General of the Federation, argued that the Supreme Court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the matter. We move to the aviation, where the federal government has asked the Nigerian Air and said that it will soon start flying, having got the aircraft ready and painted in its colors. The Minister of Aviation, Sadi Herika, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents at the end of this weekly Federal Executive Council (FEC) meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Council Chamber, Presidential Villa, Abuja. Away from that, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said that nothing will stop the 2023 general elections from holding. Obasanjo stated this while hosting members of the Board of Trustees of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) at his Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta. The former president noted that Nigeria was in an interesting period, calling Nigerians to take the elections with all its seriousness it deserves. On the foreign scene, Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has defended his government's response to two catastrophic earthquakes, saying it was impossible to prepare for the scale of the disaster. Mr. Erdogan accepted the government had encountered some problems but said that this was under situation and it was under control. Meanwhile, in sports, Napoli President Aurelio De Laurentiis has insisted that Nigeria international Victor Osimhen is not for sale, despite reports linking the striker with a move away from the club in the summer. Laurentiis made the assertion while giving an update on the future of the prolific striker amid reports that Manchester United are preparing a mega money swoop for his charismatic frontman, and the statement of the Italian club boss would be encouraging for Erik ten Hag. That's all on our news brief this morning. We'll bring you details of this and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Have a wonderful morning.
As of state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
Disastrous day in Lagos, Nigeria for Spectrum TV to improve 40 lives in Second County.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Rise and Shine, and we are beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of the Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Of course, this is Rise and Shine, where we bring you topical issues of things happening in Nigeria. And we just returned from the news brief desk, where we had Mary Joseph bring us global news. Of course, before that, we looked at the fact that the Supreme Court has banned the Central Bank of Nigeria from being able to stand with the February 10 deadline set for the use of the old naira. It has asked that the old and the new naira notes be used concurrently until the legality of the new naira policy is being established. Of course, we also saw several reactions by Nigerians to this particular cause. There's been what we call it now, protest in Abuja in reaction to all of this. But at this point, we'll move straight to our Spotlight Dailies, where we'll be bringing you information from the front page of our national dailies.
Okay, on Spotlight Dailies this morning, we are going to be spotlighting on some of the major headlines on our national dailies, and we're starting with the Nigerian Tribune. Of course, the Nigerian Tribune, the big caption here says, ban on old naira notes. IMF asks for extension as Supreme Court holds February 10 deadline. And the writer says, allow your successor to do it. Miyetti Allah tells Buhari. CSOs reject ruling. Emefiele visits Asurok. Of course, you can get details of the stories on page 3. Federal government blames profiteers for hike in petrol price. Okay, and we also have 400 of our teachers killed by insurgents. Borno state government. Nigerians must ensure general election holds by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. We have resolved petrol scarcity, cash crunch issues, says INEC. We also have a story here that says MC Olumo remove Lagos wreck. Now, Atiku tells INEC. And moving forward, it says Ajero takes over from Waba, gives federal government 1 week to resolve Naira scarcity. Kogi governor's nephew arraigned for alleged 3 billion naira fraud. And INEC appeals tribunal judgment sacking Adeleke as Osun governor, and also lists 44 grounds why verdict should be set aside. Okay, so these are some of the stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Okay, then we'll head on to our very next paper, and we'll take The Nation at this time. Take The Nation newspaper, and the very big story on the front page of The Nation says, relief, joy as Supreme Court holds CBN deadline on old naira. Rivers seeks to join suit. World Bank IMF deadline ill-conceived. Okay, we have here death toll in Turkey, Syria earthquake nears 12,000. Nigeria Air to begin flying soon, says federal government. Page 6 is where you can find that story. I seek a nation founded on justice, prosperity for all, says BAT. We also have here Tinubu, El Rufai, Wike, OPS, others hail injunction. The pro-people, the anti-people analysis. Okay, I don't know what that is trying to talk about. We also have here fleeing Senator Nwaboshi arrested. Page 6 is where you can find that story. UTME JAM cancels registration of 817 persons. That story can be found on page 6, and that's all we have on the front page of The Nation this morning.
Okay, let's move forward now. Let's move forward as we take another paper this morning. We're looking at the Daily Sun newspaper. Of course, the big story on Daily Sun says, kudos knocks as Supreme Court stalls cash swap policy. And the writer says Buhari meets a Mefele overruling. Kaduna government, Tinubu hail court order. CSO's cake protest rock Abuja. IMF backs extension. Malami asks Apex Court to dismiss suit by 3 governors. Okay, and moving on, election will hold as scheduled, INEC chairman says. And the writer says CBN NMPCL assured of cash petrol supply. Another story says appeal court okays Peter Obi's candidacy for Labour Party. Moving on, federal government blames all marketers for high cost of fuel. You can find that story on page 26. NAF wants commanders to remain apolitical, sustain onslaught on terrorists and bandits. Of course, you can find that on page 30. And Atiku asked INEC to remove Lagos rec for alleged partisanship. Rise up, fix security challenges. Ohanaeze charges Southeast governors. On page 26 is where you get details of that story. Forget Nigeria if you won't vote for Obi, Adebanjo says. And the writer says, President of Igbo extraction worthy cause to fight for. Of course, you can get details on page 26 as well. Oshun, INEC files 44 grounds of appeal, asks court to set aside tribunal judgment. Details of that story can be gotten on page 27. Naira swap, Wike hails Supreme Court, Rivers to join suit against CBN. These are some of the stories making it on the front page of the Daily Sun this morning.
Okay, our very next paper, that will be our last paper for this morning, will be the Punch newspaper. Let's take a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. It says, World Bank, IMF warns CBN. Supreme Court stops Friday deadline. Shortage of new notes has caused hardships, disrupted trade and payment, says IMF. Protest rocks Abuja as Tinubu El-Rufai held judgment. Malami asked court to dismiss suit. 195 naira per litre impossible. Marketers insist. 900 NNPCL stations to serve INEC during polls, says Yakubu. I didn't offer to buy kidney, Ekrem Madu tells UK court. We also see here Wike lacks popular support to help Tinubu, says Peter Side. Another story here says INEC appeals Oshun poll judgment, defends Adeleke's victory. Okay, that's a great development right there. 805 million naira fraud, fleeing Senator Nwaboshi nabbed, sent to prison. Last story here on the front page of the Punch says Turkey, Syria earthquake deaths now over 11,200. That story can be found on page 26. A lot of things happening. But I think we can touch light on the fact that INEC has come out to defend themselves with the work they did in Osun State with, the gubernatorial elections. Of course, we saw the former governor of the state, Oyetola Gboyega, taking Governor Demola Adeleke to tribunal over the results of the elections. And it was ruled at the tribunal that Adeleke Ademola, was overvoted for in certain polling units. And we asked the question, how will we have had the implementation of the BVAs and the new technology, but we had overvoting in certain areas? Yeah. But we are seeing here on the front page of the Punch this morning that INEC is moving to defend their work done in Osun State.
I think when this issue came up the first time, the very first thing I said was this is a serious indictment on the electoral body, because if you say that there has been a series of overvoting in some polling units, it means that there was some connivance with the INEC officials to make this happen. So if INEC is saying that, look, we have to defend our job, then it's left for them to do that at the court, and at the end of the day we'll find out how that plays out generally. But again, we also know that someone like Governor Ademola Adeleke is also going to be appealing that particular judgment, that says that he's no longer, the governor of Osun State. And when you look at it and all the over voting issues, that crept into the election process, it was just, natural for the court to say, okay, so if you deduct how many over voting, came up or was evident, you see that the total vote for Adeleke had actually dropped, to over 200 something like that, and so it was on that note, after the deductions and everything from the total votes gathered, for Adeleke at the end of the day, and the one that they think it was part of the overvoting vote, by the time all of the deductions were made, it brought him down and made Oyetola Adegboyega ahead of him. But we see that also, according to the law, since he's going to be appealing it for a window of time, it allows him still sit as the governor of Osun State until that particular case is done and dusted at the appeal. And of course, if it's also not to his favor at the appeal, he can also take it to the apex court, which is the Supreme Court. So it still gives him ample time to continue to govern the Osun people. Let's not also forget that we've seen a lot of protests coming from Osun State. Right now, we don't even know when they talk about protests. Part of what Shehu Kuti was, saying the other day, that sparked all of the controversies. Some protests are not like people are not happy with what is happening. They are like incited protests. So let's go out there and express our grievances. It's been manipulated, And then again, there was an important point he made. It's not all protests that yield results, because at the end of the day, these protests are being hijacked and turns into something very bloody, at the end of the day. So our eyes are on Osun State. Our fingers are crossed as to what's happening in Osun State. At the end of the day, we'll know if the drama that happened in 2018 will also happen again in 2023. But again, I think another issue, we will not as if we are overflogging it, but the fact that it just cuts across almost all the papers this morning, the Supreme Court judgment on the ban of the deadline for the old Naira notes is causing a lot of people to be happy. I was reading, the press statement by the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He seems to be one of the happiest person, from this particular judgment. And according to him, he says that he hails the governors of the 36 states of the Federation for defending the masses over the controversial central bank Naira redesign and cashless policy. At this point, it
still brings a lot of questions to why he has that amount of excitement.
At this point, it's the masses now. It looks as if it's the masses. Everybody is fighting for the masses. But the truth of it is, whether we like it or not, there are just some political linings underneath all of these conversations. But it's left for Nigerians to decide, it's left for Nigerians to notice, it's left for Nigerians to talk, and all of that. So that's
like we even said, we didn't see so many other presidential candidates hang the whole money issue on their neck. It was more like just Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, and then with the Supreme Court ruling, he's still coming out with a lot of excitement. It will bring you back in questions with regards to why are you so particular about the money issue. And then again, we're talking still about Osun elections. We have seen how our elections drag on in court, and now there's also concern as to how independent our judicial system is, how unbiased that they are to electoral processes in the country. We do hope that we have elections that come and can be free and fair through all of the litigations that might arise out of the elections. We hope that we do not have judges that are being bought over by certain camps and by certain parties. Let's be able to have the will of Nigerians represented in whoever is given the right to sit in any seat of governance and leadership in the country. But at this time, we're going to take a very quick break, and when we return, we'll be bringing you our focus conversation. Several things happening in the country at this time, and of course we'll be joined with our guest virtually who will be handling our topic of conversation this morning. We are looking at the Katsina State bandit attack and the fact that the death toll is rising. We've heard the federal government in recent weeks say that they have handled insecurity in the country to a very large extent. But of course, there's always been reports of pockets of banditry issues in the northeast of the country. When we return after this break, we'll delve right into that conversation. Do stay with us.
This is live in Abuja. You can see opposite CBN, there is massive protest of men and women, Nigerian youth, boys and girls on the street holding Nigerian flag with various inscriptions, speaking towards the current hardship resulting from the currency change. We have few policemen and women here, but nothing is happening at the moment. They allow the people to protest very freely, but they've just taken over the road. We can see members of the DSS in their various black jeep just running all over the place. But at the moment, everything is okay, no crisis. But the protesters are taking part of the road, almost one side of the road will be shut down not too long from now. But everywhere just looks so calm at the moment. Everywhere looks so calm. But if you look at the face of the men and women that are here on the protest, they're not looking happy. They are looking very angry, and nobody can say what exactly will happen a few minutes from now. It's a concern. It's a concern. I'm reporting live from Abuja CBN. It's a concern to all of us here. Well, many Nigerians that we access this road, please be careful. Be very, very careful, because nobody can predict exactly what may happen after now. I'm going to sign out at the moment to avoid any embarrassment by the Secret Service. I will keep updating you.
The 36 state governors are supposed to meet with the president to discuss this. And our request is simple, and we are unanimous. All the 36 governors agree to this. That like every country in the world that has changed currency, let the old notes and the new notes be used side by side until such a time when all the old notes have been systematically drawn out of circulation. Nigeria is not the first country to do this. Saudi Arabia has changed its currency. For 7 years now, they still accept old notes. The only thing is that you will never see the old notes come out of a bank. Even a trader will not give you change in old notes because they have printed enough of the new notes, and they are carefully and systematically withdrawing the old notes from circulation. The United Kingdom just got themselves a new king, King Charles, and they are changing their entire currency from the coins to the notes. Will all now have the picture not of Queen Elizabeth, that has been there for more than 70 years, but that of King Charles. But from now to the end of time, if you go to England with a pound note with Queen Elizabeth, to be accepted as legal tender and replaced with the new note. That is what every civilized country has done. Why is Nigeria doing this differently if there is no hidden agenda? Why are we expected to change 3 trillion in a matter of weeks? And then you print only 300 billion worth of notes. Unless you want to create a crisis, why would you?
But for us to further pushing the effects of what our citizens are currently facing, I've directed immediately that from tomorrow on all of our them all of our BRT buses, on all of our land ride taxis, all of our ferry boats, and all of our last mile buses and small buses that we have in the state, that they should be carrying passengers at 50% of the current fare, and this will continue to happen using their cowrie card, and want to further make the cowrie card available to all willing citizens. We have over 3 million cowrie cards that are out there that are being used. We believe that we'll even make it a lot more available. And so for the next 1 week, on all of the passenger routes within all of our buses and our ferries and our taxis, passengers will enjoy a 50% discount from tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much for still being there. Of course, right to our focus conversation this morning. Of course, so many news about the killings in Katsina State, banditry attack, and all of that. Of course, last Thursday and Friday, we saw terrorists ambush local guards known as Yan Sakai vigilantes in Bakori local government area of Katsina State, and there were scores of people that died in that particular attack. Now, joining us this morning to shed more light of what's happening in Katsina State is Dr. Getso, who is, let me get this correctly now, who is a security, intelligence, and investigative expert. Good morning, Dr. Getso, and thank you so much for being a part of our program this morning. Good morning, Dr. Yahuza Getso.
Okay, I don't know, we don't seem to have the sound. Okay, I'm sure we'll try and fix what the issue is and get right into that conversation with Dr.
Yeah,
Getso.
definitely. Very important conversations, particularly about what's happening in northern Nigeria, and 100 guards in Katsina Forest ambushed. And as we speak right now, the death toll keeps rising. We don't know what's happening in Katsina State as regards this particular banditry attack. Just like you said in the beginning, the government was saying that, look, we have to a large extent solved the insecurity issues in the country, but it seems that there are a lot of other, attacks that are not spoken of, that are not heard of, unreported attacks. But also, thank you so much for joining us again. Good morning, Dr. Yahuza Getso.
Good morning once again. How are you?
Thank you very much. We're very well. Thank you. Of course, like I said earlier, Dr. Yahuza Getso is a security intelligence and investigative expert. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get straight into the conversation. Katsina State seems to be a very hot bed right now as it concerns banditry attack. What exactly is happening there? I know you're speaking to us from Kano State, but these are terrains that you're very conversant with.
Well, I think let's take it around. It is not really that Katsina State is the only the hot verge, but the entire northwestern part of Nigeria is in that dilemma. I want to tell you that one, Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, and inclusive of even the Niger State in north central Nigeria is having the same problem. Only that issues are being underreported. Either government is sitting on the subject, or some of the agents of the government who don't want it because of political reason or because of the getting closer to 2023 election, they are trying to cover off, not to allow people to know the reality of ground, but masses are really suffering in all these states I mentioned. In Kaduna, the attacks are still ongoing. In all the local government areas, foreign local government areas, likewise in Katsina State, in Zamfara State, in Sokoto State, in Kebbi State, and inclusive of Niger State in the North Central State. And still the Kaduna-Abuja road is still hot. It's still at the verge of the control of the bandits and other criminals who have been doing what they are doing now. Going to Bakori local government and that of Ankara local government where incidents happens. Of course, there were indigenous and the vigilant and NSAK from Bakori local government, but they were killed and attacked in Ankara local government, that is the neighboring local government.
Mm-hmm.
There are 7 questions to ask here. First question, why is the divisional police officer and the local security officer and others, civil defense, and other security formations, inclusive of the immigration from that local government who own arms and who are supposed to be in control and provide required support to those vigilantes after that attack that happens. That is one. Secondly, where are the divisional police officer in Giwa local government, who is a neighboring in Kaduna State, which is neighboring Bakor local government? And where is the area command of the police area command at Puntua stationed there? And where is the super camp, the military super camp that was established by Boratei, where you have a huge military personnel, which is less than 40 to 60 kilometers from where the incidents happened? Where are they? Where is the military unit that is in Puntua, which is stalling the cows, less than 7 kilometers between the army camp, which is in Puntua, the local government headquarters of the Puntua. Part of Puntua is part of Bakor local government area. Part of the Puntoni, to where the incidents happened, you have 3 more local government that could have provided a kind of support by police and by military. You have military units at Malumpashi. You also have military and other armor tanks, armor vehicles at Funtua, which is less than 11 kilometers from where the incidents happens and where these guys were killed. And then from Kankara to the community where the bandits and the Sake were killed is less than also 35 kilometers.
So what you're trying to say is,
as far as I'm coming, okay, please. As far as I'm concerned, looking at this geographical cycle and looking at the relationship between one community and another, and all these local governments, you have Musawa, you have Musa, you have Kankara, you have Funtua, you have Bakori, a divisional police office, you have area command at the Funtua local government. You also have the area, also the divisional police office at Giwa, and you also have the super camp at Sabwa, and you have military camp also at Tandumi. All these were local government that are within geographical cycle that is not up to 75-kilometer radius. So I really wonder how the cows, this huge amount of cows were stolen and were escorted to less than 30 kilometers before the NSACA or the vigilante were ambushed and killed. So the question I'm asking the federal government, as far as I'm concerned, government should be responsible for these people that died.
Okay, now my
In Sabo and Pascari local government, and you have them in hundreds in Kandume local government. You have them in 50 to or more than that in the Bakori local government itself. And you have area command responsible for Pascari Sabo and Dime Bakori, and you have area command at Malimpashi police area command. You have in the surrounding, you have 7 military units. Not when you talk of unit, you are not talking of a checkpoint. Checkpoint, when you are talking of checkpoint, you are talking of 20 to 30 to maybe 10 to 20 military personnel. But I'm talking to you that you have a unit. There is unit at Dandume local government. There is unit at Sabwa. There is a super camp. It's a special camp that trillions of money was used to establish. Part of the Bahara administration failure that are claiming success.
Okay,
Because
so you're saying that we have, Dr. Getto, you're saying we have this number of, soldiers on ground to have been able to, address the issue. Now, even if we are saying we have sabotage in the system, is it possible to overhaul?
Sabotage from where?
Okay, no, we are saying if we have this number of people on ground that should have been notified of the issue happening, how come we do not have, information getting out to them on time, even if there are sabotage in the system? How can the whole military framework in the area be overhauled at the same time? Yes.
So there's not just one person that is saying no.
Let's respond to the situation on ground promptly.
I told you that
across all units,
the military and all the security formations around that area, if they say they don't have the information, that is telling lies. When the incidents happened, immediately the incidents happened, I myself that I'm talking to you, I'm one of the people that received the information and quickly pass it to the relevant authorities.
Wow.
Less than 15 minutes from the time when the cows were stolen. And for somebody to move with cow to up to 35 kilometers on the road, trekking, up to 35 to 70 kilometers, trekking, and you tell me that you don't have information, that is a brutal lie. That is a brutal lie for any security personnel or any security formation or any security institution to tell me that they don't have information. They have the information. They refuse to do what they're supposed to do. They refuse to take the necessary measures. And I told you that I have been challenging the Buhari administration and the security agencies for coordination mechanism among themselves. If at all there is a coordination mechanism, even if there is no coordination mechanism, what I'm saying is that where are the military camp unit in Kankara, and how comes these people move from Bakwari local government? They have to cross 3 local governments. Bakwari local government itself, Funtua local government, and also Kankara local government, and to some extent even part of probably Sabo or Danduma local government, for them to escape to have moved to that route where they ambushed 40 to 80 vigilante. So does that? I want to tell you that none of these vigilantes that doesn't have the phone numbers. They all have phone numbers, and they all have contact of the divisional police offices, the area command, unit command. As far as investigation be made, if really the Buhari administration, the government is really serious about it, they should check through the telephone numbers, the cell phone numbers of all the security heads of all that area, as I mentioned, the 7 local government areas. Definitely they have been communicated, and if not only even the security personnel and not even the vigilante, there are youth and there are individuals who have concern of what is happening. They were the ones that reported to me. In the midnight, I received calls. And when I received the call, immediately I sent the information to the relevant authority at the state headquarters, and I expected them to have acted immediately. And I want to tell you that almost each and every 20 people you count around that area of Bakoi, Baskari, Dandime, Puntua, Sabuak, and Karamalumfashi local governments areas of Katsina State, every 20 people you count, every 20 individuals you count, either literate or illiterate, either they have a relationship with the government institution or they don't have, either they are on their own. I want to tell you that out of every 17 people have contact number of one security personnel or the other.
Because of the situation on ground.
Because of the situation on ground.
Yeah.
So they normally quickly pass the information, and there are a lot of WhatsApp and WhatsApp groups as well as the Facebook pages from those areas that they have opened. So once there is any information and any incident, they will start posting and they will start sharing information. I want to tell you that it's one of the most coordinated communities as far as these security challenges is concerned. They are far better than any part of northwestern Nigeria and northeastern Nigeria. These local governments that I mentioned to you, and I want to repeat it once again: Dandime local government, Paskari local government, Sabuwa local government, Kankara local government, Puntua local government, Bakor local government, Malimfashi local government, Musawa local government, Dan Musa local government, and what do you call it? Mataz local government. This local government, as I mentioned to you, about 12 of them, they are well coordinated as far as information management is concerned. As far as relationship, they are very wise and wild. They are not as illiterate as you think. They are very wise and wild, and most of them are educated. I want to tell you that every 10 out of every 10 in Bakor local government, in all these local government I mentioned, not only even Bakor, all these local governments is one of the most wise and wild environment in Katsina State and in northwestern Nigeria. Every 7 out of 10 can read and write and can speak very good English to you.
All right.
I want to tell you that.
So something else.
It means that they know themselves, they know their right, and they know how to fight for their right. They know how to struggle for their right, and they always pass information. I want to tell you that I get every information, every attack that happened in any of these areas. Less than 5-10 minutes, I'll get the information. Somebody will call me. So if wherever I am, I used to receive information through my 10 GSM numbers that I have. All my numbers are open. And I have been sharing it with them, and they have been sharing it among themselves. So once there is attack, I'm one of the people that they normally call, and I normally pass the information to the security heads at Katsina State headquarters, and inclusive of the SA security. SA security is very proactive. Of course, at that night, I tried his line didn't go through, but I have passed the information to the right authority for the right action to be taken, and for the right directive and command to be channeled and passed through either the area commander Malimbashi or the area commander Funtua. And at the same time, I also pass the information to part of Kaduna State government, because they are very close to Giwa local government of Kaduna State. Giwa and Zaria local government. It's very close to Zaria. It's not far from Zaria.
Okay,
so
Dr. Getzel.
It's just a negligence, not
Dr. Getzel, sir.
And not of lack of information.
Okay,
yes.
Now it's really pathetic what's happening in northern Nigeria. But as we speak now, there are also concerns that the death toll keeps rising. So we really do not know what is causing death tolls to rise in Katsina State or other neighboring states in northern Nigeria. We only heard that, vigilantes were killed, and of course reports carries it that the president has also reacted to it and condemned this particular killing of vigilantes in Katsina State. But why do we keep having the death toll rising? Is there like a fighting happening
I'm really
in the area?
disappointed with Muhammad Buhari. I'm really disappointed.
Dr. Getzel, just before you answer that question, let me just even put, throw more light to that whole issue of death toll rising. Now, we also have, because I want you to talk about it, the under-reportage that is coming to the insecurity issues in the Northeast, as it were. Now, there's some quarters that are reporting 102 deaths upon, the tolls rising, but official numbers stand at 72. Why do we begin to have these variances with the, numbers that are given out for reportage on, the premise of deaths experienced in these areas?
It's because of several reasons. One, rivalry among the security agencies. It's really contributing and attributing to this unorganized information management that is coming up. That is one. Secondly, internal sabotage. And thirdly, inability of the government to take repercussion in order to kind of take a measurable action that will serve as a deterrent and send message for others to be proactive and do what is right. And the three, incapability and incapable and lack of having the right arms and ammunitions. And the five, lack of adequate personnel. The personnel that are manning this area are not up to 10% of what the requirement of the required personnel to face the runs of the level of security challenges that we have. And then number six, the unseriousness, lack of the serious government. If you say that we don't are known, all the routes they are using, the difficult terrain, the hard to reach, whatever you may call it, is known. And every divisional police officer, every ward head, every village head, and every district head is aware. All these district heads I mentioned of that of Faskari Sabo and Dumi, Malimpashi Kafur, Dan Musawa Matazu, Bakori, Kankara, all the local governments chairmen, all the councillors, and all of them, they know who are these criminals. They are not people that we don't know. We know them. I am from northern Nigeria. I am from Kano State. I am from neighboring local government to Katsina State as an indigene. And as an expert who normally I expose myself to go to some of these forests and go to some of these locations, generate information, and I am always sharing this information through national and international media and through my blogs, through my social media. Anybody who wants to get information on what I have been talking about since Buhari administration and even before Buhari administration, and even during Obasanjo when I was talking about the Boko Haram and whatever, go to Google, write my name, just write my name, ask Google, who is Dr. Yahuza Giso. You will see the information there. And if anybody want to challenge me and want to ask any other information, my number is, let me make it known to everybody, it's 08069766002, 08069766002. If you need further information, or you want to come down and go for me to take you to all these places.
Dr. Getso, we get the issue on ground. We understand how it bites.
I think he's not really answered the question, because when we say that the question I asked earlier, when we say that the death toll keeps rising, the question is,
the reason
is
why
it
the toll
that
keep
people
rising,
are still fighting?
Let me answer you.
Go ahead, sir.
I have answered, but you didn't understand the answer. But let me say it explicitly.
Okay.
The reason is lack of coordination mechanism, and that is one. Those 7 items I answered were answered, but let me give you just 3. One, lack of coordination mechanism. If you have coordination mechanism, the State Ministry of Information is supposed to be the alpha and omega to take the control of the information going out and ensure that they fast track the number of people died, because they have families. Those who are missing should be counted as dead until otherwise when they are confirmed to be found alive.
Okay.
So that is one. 2, the police authority supposed to be the managers of this information. The police public relation officer made an announcement, and before he made that announcement, I'm very convinced and confident that Malam Gamba Isa, who is the public relation officer of the Nigerian Police Force at Katsina Command, must have done a thorough work through generating the information through the DPO Bakori and the area commander Funtua, who is responsible for that area. So how comes the information came and the information is being different from what is obtainable from one agency and the other? That is the issue of poor coordination mechanism that I mentioned. And finally, which is number 4, is the inability of the traditional authorities to work together you have the village head, you have the ward head, and you have the district head. You know that the district head of Bakori was removed a couple of weeks ago, dismissed. Not only he was actually initially suspended, and a committee was investigation was set off against him because of suspicion of certain allegations and petitions that he has a relationship with these bandits and he has been providing support to them. And later, after about 40 days or 43 days or thereby or more than that, the Katsina Emirate Council now dismissed him. And fortunately and unfortunately, what I expected, when you are alleging someone that is responsible or is partaking or is collaborating or partnering with the bandits or other criminals, what you're supposed to do, when you suspend the person is supposed to be arrested. And when you dismiss the person finally, you said Katsina Emirate Council have confirmed that he is found wanting. So for that, he has been dismissed as a district head of Bakori government, Bakori local government area. And whatever traditional title of whatever Katsina he is, I can't remember that. So, but he is still roaming around. He has not been arrested. He has not been brought to the book. So that could have served as a deterrent. So, which means is the issue of lack of coordination mechanism between the security agencies and the communities, as well as the community, the policing structure, and the operational ability, as well as the kind of lack of coordinated activity or probably relationship between the police and the vigilante themselves. Because the vigilante have their own authority, so they're supposed to have confirmed who lost his life. And I want to tell you, it means that the security agencies up till now, the formal security agencies, the military, the DSS, the civil defense, the whatever security architecture you have, they have not been able to go to that where those people are killed. So they couldn't go to move out almost all the cops. That is why they allow probably the families to struggle how to get the cops back. That is why the rising the figure is rising. So if any family are able to get their own cops, so it will be added up, which means the coordinated, the well-organized activity have not been conducted.
Yes, because we have community members saying, you know, they are having to interact with their hands with these corpses themselves. I'm talking about community, you know, strategy. We have one of the community leaders asking that the federal government should come in and have a dialogue with these bandits. Dr. Getso, you usually would have a lot of opinions about, you know, how to go about to bring solution to the banditry we are having in the Northeast. Community leaders are asking the federal government, the presidency, to come and have dialogue with, you know, these bandits to negotiate the peace of people living in the Northeast. What are your thoughts about this? Especially because in the next couple of days now, the Buhari-led administration is going to be done, and there is no way we'll be able to, you know, call this particular administration out anymore. Looking at all of the campaigns, we even had Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Katsina just a couple of days you know, ago, and then he called for prayers for the you know, souls that have been lost in the course of this. What is the place of dialogue and bringing peace to Northerners at this time?
Well, I'm using this medium to condemn Bola Ahmed Tinubu's action for contributing 100 million naira to the community. Thousands have been killed before, and we never had Bola Ahmed Tinubu contributing anything to them. So as far as I'm concerned, this is politically motivated. Now, coming to your question of either dialogue or no dialogue, the peace deal in every history of the world. I have been to many of the crisis countries in the world. I have been to Myanmar, I have been to Afghanistan, I have been to Bangladesh, I have been to many parts of the Mali where you have rebels. I have been to many parts of Burkina Faso, Niger, Libya, and all around areas where there are crises. And I have been one of the foot soldiers in terms of collating information and generating intelligence and conducting root cause analysis. I want to tell you that as far as history is concerned and practical predicament activities, it is the first deal is the dialogue is allowed. So if dialogue will be a solution to stopping these killings, let government go into it, because government have promised before Buhari administration came, he promised one of the cardinal objectives And one of the cardinal pillars that he used to deceive Nigerian masses is the fact that he is going to deal with security situation decisively. But fortunately and unfortunately, we are recording failures. We are escorting his government with their failures as far as security management is concerned, as far as dealing with the security challenges is concerned. So for this, I believe I am really in support of the community idea. If at all the dialogue will be the answer. Because like I mentioned and I said, and I will repeat myself, that those criminals are known, their parents are known, their sleeping beds are known, their huts are known, the huts to reach and difficult terrain they are utilizing to move from between one place and another is known. So which means rather than fighting my wife that we are living in the same room, sleeping on the same bed, eating on the same plate, why do I have to be slapping her and she to be slapping me, and sometimes each and every one of us to take knife? Is it not better rather than to allow a neighborhood, a neighboring person, an external person to come and settle us? Why can't we settle ourselves? Yes, of course, government should give the community leaders an open hand to mobilize. Masari, Governor Aminu Bello Masari knows how he was able to reach out to those communities in 2016. I challenge Governor Aminu Bello Masari and his government and the people in security around. They all know how the dialogue started. If dialogue is the answer and the community are pledging and asking and making a clarion call and making a suggestive suggestions that the government should go into dialogue with these people, if the dialogue will be the solution, government knows better how to do the dialogue and they know what they have started in 2016. Okay. Even though I call it not a dialogue because it was not a proper, it's just a kind of a political dialogue. But if we really want to go on to the real dialogue, everybody, the criminals are known and those who the criminals are fighting are known. So it's not that you are fighting for a foreigner. They are Nigerians. They are indigenous of Kankara local government, indigenous of Bakuru local government, indigenous of Puntua local government, indigenous of Faskari local government, indigenous of Sabua local government, indigenous of Musawa local government, indigenous of Matazu local government. All these 12 local government I mentioned, the criminals are indigenous. They are not foreigners. Dr. Gatsu, they are not coming from Sokoto,
let me also come in here,
from
please.
Any other part of the world.
Let me come in here. I'll take us back to your earlier comments where you said that you're also not too happy and disappointed by the action of Bola Ahmed Tinubu for donating 100 million naira to those that are affected in Katsina State now. My question is, why did you say so? Why do you think this action is politically motivated? When we had flooding around the country sometime last year,
I have given you justifications, but let me respond to you quickly.
Yes.
Many communities, even yesterday night, one of the community in Katsina State was also attacked. Dansare community was attacked, and a number of people were kidnapped. So, and long before, many people have been killed in many parts of Katsina. And the newspaper and the other news agencies have been carrying this information. We never see Bola Ahmed Tinubu contributing, 100 million or whatever, even a penny. So that is why I condemn in totality. I'm not saying that the community should not collect the money. They should collect the money. Even if he is giving them 100 billion naira, let them collect it. It's their own money because it's Nigeria's money.
So the point is, it's not totally wrong that he's giving Katsina State 100 billion naira or 100 million naira. But the fact that he should have given some other people as well.
He should have been doing it long before. Okay. If at all, it's a sympathy. But this is politically motivated.
So the timing is geared towards the elections.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So something
else. There
are
many communities in Sokoto that have been hurt. There are many communities in Zamfara, Shinkafi, Isa, Sabombuni, Goronyo, Gwadabawa, Zurmi, Batsari, Jibia. and many other part of
But I also think that it was just because at the time Bola Ahmed Tinubu alongside the president were in Katsina State for the campaigns, and it's just natural to, okay, this happened in Katsina State, let me just lend a helping hand, and that's why the 100 million came about.
Well, I totally disagree with you. It is politically motivated.
Okay, so
I totally disagree with you.
Dr. Getso, we get your point on that, and I mean it might differ from quarter to quarter, and many people may also agree with you because of the timing and because of what he seeks politically in this season. But then something else, I want to draw our minds back. It feels like a really basic beginning question, but something you have raised is the fact that most of the people attacking these communities are from the communities that are being attacked. Now my question is going to be, why exactly are we having these infightings between communities and the state of Nigeria by Nigerians at this time? What exactly are bandits crying out for? What are bandits looking for that the federal government is not responding to, that keeps making them attack their local government areas?
Well, the administration of Muhammad Buhari have not to really ascend down to conduct a root cause analysis and also deal with the situation decisively. This issue could have been managed in the early days of the Buhari administration in the 2015 and 2016, as well as around 2017.
Banditry and Boko Haram didn't start in Buhari's administration. It was there in Goodluck Jonathan's time.
And there was also bombing every other day during the administration of former President Goodluck
during Buhari administration. Let's not deceive ourselves. Banditry in northwestern Nigeria, before Buhari came onto power, northwestern Nigeria was living peacefully and well organized and well coordinated, and there is very good understanding, even though there are kind of hardest farmers clashes here and there over the years for more than a decade. That is even during the pre-colonial administration and during colonial administration, and even the post-colonial administration took off during the 1973, 1983, and even during all the days of the military administration.
Dr. Getso, I seem to also want to disagree a little bit, because during the administration of Goodluck Jonathan, we saw that some states in northern Nigeria, bandits had taken over and even hoisted flags. And one of the major achievements of this particular administration will tell you that they have...
Okay, so we are separating Boko Haram and banditry.
Boko Haram.
There is difference between bandits and Boko Haram.
Okay.
Boko Haram are religious agitators who are hiding under the umbrella of the religion. And as far as I'm concerned, I have read more than 300 books, Islamic books, and I have read more than 400 Christian books. I have not seen where extremism in Christianity or in Islam is accepted. So Islam cannot accept Boko Haram. They are just agitators. They are just political agitators who have their own political vision, and they hide under the umbrella of religion and calling themselves Boko Haram. Okay. It has no place in Islam, and it has no place in Christianity. When you come banditry, in the case of most 99% of those who are members of the Boko Haram are Islamic activists, or they call themselves Islamic activists, because they are not Islamic activists, because Islam cannot have base of extremism throughout the history of Islam. So now banditry is a participatory activity by the three category of people. You have Muslim, you have Christians, and you have Jews, and you have even free thinkers. So banditry is more of economically motivated, while and the banditry activity is more or less happening in north central and northwestern Nigeria. In the northeast, it's more than 90% of the activities, criminal activities or insecurity in the northeastern part of the country is more to do with Boko Haram. So I want you to draw a line. There are two different activities, but as time goes on, between the year of 2019 ending towards the 2021 and 2022, they started kind of collaborating and partnering with one another in order for each of them to mobilize resources, because they need the resources. That is why some of the Boko Haram members, Ansaru and other ISWAF, started to launch activities around northwestern part of the country in order to kind of conduct kidnap for ransom. If you take the case of Kaduna, Abuja, Kaduna train. If you take the case of Federal Government College Bini Yauri, more of these are kind of a synergy between the Boko Haram, the bandits, the ISWAP, and the Ansaru.
Okay,
But
so
purely,
we are actually
Ansaru,
behind time. We are about to close up. So you're saying that the federal government has not gone ahead to do a root cause analysis to know why, what exactly bandits are looking for.
And even if even when they refuse to do the root cause analysis, I and other researchers, other investigators, other private on our own, we have done so much for federal government that could have taken it at no cost. The informations are there. Write my name on the YouTube. You will see so many things I have mentioned, so many advices, free advice. Go to the Google, write my name, Dr. Yahuza Geso, and search. You will see so many things, so many write-ups. Even though at a later time I started even deleting some of those clips because
Thank
I realized
you so much,
that some
Dr.
of the budgets
Yahuza Geso.
and some of the submissions being made by the security agencies, they are making extract of my brain.
Thank you so much.
And utilizing it to siphon Nigeria's resources.
Thank you so much,
It's been a
Dr.
great pleasure
Yahuza
giving the
Getso, security intelligence and investigative expert. It's always a pleasure having to talk to you about Northern Nigeria on this particular platform. Thank you so much for your time with us.
Thank you very much, and all the best.
All right.
All the best,
serious concerns, I must say, are happening in Northern Nigeria. I just hope that the federal government gets to take some of these advices by, private individuals and organizations to cushion the effect of what is happening in Northern Nigeria, or to even trash out the issues deliberately.
One thing we have, as for sure in our country, is although it looks like we have unpatriotic Nigerians all over the place, we also have very patriotic Nigerians. The likes of Dr. Getso and all other people who put in their work and their time to research, answer the questions that are on the minds of everybody, are patriotic Nigerians. Definitely. And if, like we said earlier, if we have a country and a leadership that will take the advice that are freely given, then our country would have moved on forward. We have a leadership problem.
But
basically, that's all. And we just pray for peace and comfort to those who have been affected in the banditry attacks in Katsina State and all other northeastern and northwestern states of Nigeria at this time. But that's definitely the much we can take on Rise and Shine this morning. My name is Yannick, and a big thank you to you for being a part of our show today. We'll definitely see you tomorrow.
Obviously, you're the reason why we come on set every morning. Thank you so much for being a part. And we say thank you to those working behind the scene to make sure production is super success. My name is Janice Kobum, and right about now, we'll be handing you over to Isaac and Blyden Ukem for Sports Central. Do stay with us and enjoy the rest of our programs on Spectrum Television. Bye.